Compliments of the season. Happy New Year, Nigeria, and welcome to Daily Politics, live on Trust TV, your go-to platform for inclusive discussions on politics, policy, and governance. My name is Abdullahi Ahmed. Tonight on the program, as Nigerians usher in 2025 and with hopes for better living conditions, President Ahmed Tinubu has renewed his administration's pledge to deliver a year of progress and prosperity. In his New Year message, the president acknowledged the difficulties of 2024 for many households, but he pointed to promising economic indicators and plans by his government to unveil the National Values Charter and convene a much-anticipated National Youth Conference. However, the opposition People's Democratic Party, alongside many other critics, remain unconvinced, criticizing the administration for failing to address key challenges like hunger and insecurity, as well as emerging issues within the polity with practical solutions over political rhetoric. So let's unpack these dynamics. Join us tonight to delve deeper into the issues and interrogate the different perspectives to this development is Samuel Danjuma. He's a political and policy analyst and also a chieftain of the APC. Compliments of the season to you, and thank you so much for joining us on the program tonight. Good to see you. I must start on this cherry note, so to say. Do you think it's an exaggeration when Nigerians say there's nothing happy about the year because there's nothing happy about the experiences of Nigerians in the year that just passed, 2024?
I would say there's a lot to be happy for. There's a lot to be thankful for. As a Christian and someone who believes so much in God, I believe that the ability for you to even see this day is enough for you to be happy for. And the government is doing a lot to better the lots of the people of this country, and we should celebrate. At least before the celebrations of the New Year celebrations, we began to buy fuel across filling stations less than 1,000 naira, which is something to celebrate. And we also had of the coming up of the Wari refinery, so that shows that, and that's indication that there's going to be downward review of petroleum prices in the country. And we all know that if the price of fuel comes down, every other thing in this country is going to take shape, because everything we do basically is centered on transportation. And as soon as the cost of transportation of goods and services reduces, then the cost of living will also improve.
For the most part, a lot of Nigerians will say the cause and correlation of the current economic climate in Nigeria is linked directly to the Tinubu administration's actions or inactions, however you look at it, because he removed subsidy on day one in 2023, which made the economy spiral quite significantly. So to say the price of PMS is coming down to 1,000 naira, less than 1,000 naira, I mean, a lot of Nigerians would say, well, before he came on board, we were paying significantly less than that. So how would you situate, what the government has done and what still needs to be done to appease Nigerians?
The truth about it is, the government did the best thing that it should do. The president was saying some few days ago when he had the media chat, he said Nigerians were not being told the truth. Nigerians were living in a local palace, to say, a fake life. And what do I mean by a fake life? The truth is this: if the Jonathan administration in 2012 was able to pull through with the removal of subsidy, and the Tinubu administration came in immediately after the Jonathan administration, we won't be facing what we are facing today. The truth about it is subsidy has to go. And now subsidy has gone. The downstream sector has been completely deregulated. So now we begin to see that it's now being determined by the market forces. So with the coming days, as we all know elementary economics, the more the supply, certainly the price is going to drop. When the supply is more than the demand, the prices are going to drop. So it's not just about the Tinubu administration. Right. These were things that were on ground before the Tinubu administration. 40, 50 years ago, this administration was able to have the political will to pull through and said, no, at this point, we cannot survive on this any longer, and we just have to let it go.
I'm happy you brought the historical context to the conversation, because I remember back in 2012 when the Goodluck administration contemplated, in fact, prepared the grounds for the removal of fuel subsidy. The current president is one of the loudest voices against the removal of fuel subsidy. So isn't that a bit of an irony that you're drawing parallels with that?
One thing you will not take away from this president is we call him the Jagaban of African politics. He was a smart politician. Goodluck Jonathan did not have the political will. If Goodluck Jonathan was convinced with the policy, like the present president is, he would have stood his ground. And by now, one thing with this president is when he's convinced that this policy is going to better the lives of the people, he doesn't listen to CSA. He stands by it, just like he's talked about the tax reform bill and said the tax reform bill has come to stay, He was convinced he had the political will, which is what previous administration has been lacking.
So you're saying in 2012 it was fair game to choose politics over Nigerians?
It was, see, in 2012, you know, when you are not on the seat, most times you won't really understand how things are being done. When you watch, it's just like watching a football match from the outside. You'll be the one telling whoever what to do. But when you are now in the pitch, you now begin to understand that this thing needs to be done. I think the president now has more information than he had when he was outside the government. And now he has seen that this is the way to go.
But I thought you said it was just politics. He knew how to play the game. That's why he was on the other side of the argument.
No, it's not just...
It's either one or the other. Was it about politics in 2012 or was it about lack of information? Because I know there were several town hall meetings and conversations with ministers in government about the need to remove fuel subsidy. There were several engagements, right, to clear the doubts as well as the concerns of Nigerians. And on the other side of the aisle, on the APC side or the opposition side then, because there was no EPC at that time, the likes of Tinubu and others were, you know, all against the idea of subsidy removal.
Now, we also have, I want you to remember that we had a president in this country who told us that subsidy was a scam. And under his administration, he paid more subsidy than every other administration before him and after him. So the truth is this, most times, these people don't actually get, see, it boils back to having a political will. I still stand on this. Goodluck Jonathan did not have the political will. He wasn't convinced about his policies. If he was convinced about his policies...
politics undermined him. The politics that the likes of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu played at the time.
It's not just politics alone. See, there's no way in this. Change is difficult.
You can't eat your cake and have it. You can't say it's politics in one breath and still say it's not politics.
You said he was part of them, and I told you, yes, there was a political.
There was a front run.
There was a political undertone to it somewhere, and there was a president who did not have the political will. There are two things here. It's all about politics. It's all about politics. Even the sitting president then was supposed to be able to convince.
The removal of fuel subsidy now, is it also about politics?
It's not about politics now. It's now certain that it has to go.
I feel like we're going round in circles.
No, we are not. Now we must go.
Right. But in 2012,
I told you, the president in 2012 did not have the political will. Yeah. A lot of people have protested against fuel subsidy removal, but the president has stood his ground because he knows that this is what has to be done. The president then did not. He was not even convinced about his policy. It takes one thing for you to be convinced. It takes another thing for you to have the political will to pull through. So, now this president is convinced, he has the political will and is ready to pull through. And as we can see, we're beginning to reap the dividends of that policy.
I'm not sure Nigerians will agree with you on that. But on the case of, you know, the historical context of this particular conversation, do you think the president owes Nigerians an apology for his role in the 2012 Occupy Nigeria movement that halted the removal of fuel subsidy? Because I reckon that if, like you said, if we had done it back in 2012, it would have been smooth sailing. We would have been smooth sailing by now. Do you think the president owes Nigerians an apology?
The president do not owe Nigerians apology. If there's anybody who owes Nigerians apologies, Goodluck Jonathan.
Who tried to remove it unsuccessfully?
Goodluck Jonathan was entrusted, this country was entrusted into his hand. And as a leader, he was supposed to have the political will to carry on with his programs and policies. He was not, like I said, I still maintain what I say, he was not convinced about his programs and policy. If he was convinced, then just like what the president is doing, he would have stood his ground. So he was not even convinced. Jonathan did not have the political will, so Goodluck Jonathan should apologize to Nigerians, because if Jonathan did what he was supposed to do, the opposition would have not even been on the street in the first place.
A lot of people would describe what you are trying to imply as dictatorship.
No. This is not about...
A lot of people say the president read the room, he read the temperature of the country and understood that the political forces that have been galvanized to fight back against subsidy removal are significant enough that he cannot proceed with it.
No. That's in 2012. You're talking about 2012. Yeah. We still had the same issues now. We had the issue with the front and back with Dangote Refinery and the regulatory agency. We had the front and back with marketers and the rest of them. We had people who even went ahead to say they were going to import fuel, that it was cheaper importing fuel instead of buying for Dangote. But the president stood his ground. Remember, he was asked in the media chat about this, and he smiled. When he left them, he opened up the market. Now we are hoping, even before the end of the first quarter of this year, the other refineries are going to come upstream.
You're surely not saying that the president should get all the credit for the reforms and the revitalization of the refineries and everything that is happening to the downstream sector. You're surely not saying that he should take all the credit.
I'm saying he should take all the credit because
18 months in,
yes,
he should take all the credit for.
Before
for the works that were given in 2021
from the times of Olusegun Obasanjo, we have always heard of refinery. Do
you know how long it took us to get the Petroleum Industry Act?
This is exact. That's why I still talk about.
And do you know who delivered the act?
That's why I still talk about political will. The PDP administration did not have the political will. We have the former president Olusegun Obasanjo who said that the refinery, he never believed that the refinery will ever work. But this government has come out to say these refineries can work. So we should give it to this president.
Right. Some of the credit, right? Not all of it.
We are giving, see, it takes one thing. Government is continuing. We remember Goodluck Jonathan did almost 80% of the rail sector before he left. But when it was commissioned in the time of Muhammad Buhari, what did we do? We gave him the credit because Muhammad Buhari would have come in and said, no, I don't want to continue with the project of Goodluck Jonathan and start a new one. So we should give this government all the credit because if he had not pulled through, if he had come and said, no, I don't want to continue with this, I want to go this way, we wouldn't have seen these refineries coming up through. Okay,
so let's talk about his New Year message because beyond just wishing Nigerians a happy New Year, the president had quite a lot to say about the state of the nation right now. He did talk about how the times are still tough, but like he alluded to in the media chat, he did say that 2025 is going to be a great year for Nigerians. Talk to me about what some of your takeaways are from his New Year message, because he did talk about collaborating with the states on key national issues. Case in point, for instance, is the controversial tax reform bills. Another state has just joined in to add to the list of so many states who officially are rejecting the bills as they currently are right now. There is the back and forth with Bauchi state government, but Kano has just joined in to say, no, we do not buy the idea of the piece of legislation because it is counterproductive. The organized labor in its New Year message also said, listen, take it back and also consider reviewing the minimum wage because of the current economic climate. Talk to me about what the president had to say and how, they mirror the current reality that Nigerians are dealing with.
One thing you will give to this president is a listening president. He listens and he feels the pulse of the people. For him to come and say, yes, I know the times are hard, but we're doing everything possible to see to it that we are going to better the lots of the people, shows that he's a father who cares about his children and how they feel. Now, coming to governors from the north who are kicking against the tax reform bill, I asked this question. I saw the NLC a press briefing and I commented online and I asked, I'm not even sure the NLC president has actually studied what is in that tax reform bill in the first place. Now, the governors.
Why do you say that? Why do you say that?
If you have gone through it, you would want it to go through because it's going to better this country. Now, see, the north. It's time we wake up and stop this filibuster. How will I put it now? Government that we run, whereby every month you run to Abuja and come and get your share of the national cake and go back to the states and begin to share the way you want. See, the North is blessed. And what does this bill intend for Nigerians? Therefore, you now generate what you spend. The present VAT, Lagos generates over 240 billion every month and gets just 40% of it. So imagine what would have happened if Lagos has to keep, let's say, 70% and pay 30% to the center. So it's every right-thinking Nigerian should accept. See, I don't take. I want to be a bit lenient. The Bauchi State Governor. I shouldn't. I said it earlier, and I said it in my post that we shouldn't take him serious because we all know he has his eyes on presidency and is already beginning to come up with political statements to just discredit the. See, every Nigerian should know that elections are over. This is time for governance. We should all come together. If truly what you want is to better the lots of Nigeria.
Did anybody make it about the elections?
We all know that Bauchi State Governor has his eyes on the presidency.
Do we know that for a fact?
It's not an hidden fact.
And what has that got to do with the issue at hand?
See, the truth is, Now, you said you don't want the tax bill. The question is this: what is the option?
Not want. They want amendments made to the provisions.
I'm sure you have gone through that bill yourself.
So many times, especially on this platform, we've had to unpack a lot of it.
And you could see it's a beautiful piece of legislation.
Well, there are common grounds where everybody agrees on certain things. There are common denominators where the state governors are not particularly against, right? However, there are certain provisions, especially when it comes to, the execution of what it means to be a federation, for instance, where you're taking care of each other. It doesn't make sense in the current shape or form of the current legislation to have some sort of bias to certain areas of the country, because then it will impoverish others, which is also a point that has been considered, not just by the governors, by the way. Even the National Assembly has considered it. I mean, the House of Representatives, people that speak for you and me and multiples of Nigerians, have also said, listen, we need to take a pause and maybe have a deeper conversation about this. So it's not just the governors who are kicking against this.
Most of those National Assembly members who are kicking against this bill are from which part of the country?
I would say they are from every part of the country.
No, 99% of them are from the north.
I'm not sure the statistic is right.
See, they are from the north. See, one thing is this. Even if you do not pass that bill today, and you take it through all the process and still come back maybe in another 1 year time, Nigerians will still kick against it. So what do you do as a leader who knows? See, I told you one thing from the inception of this program, that one thing we should give to this president is that he has the political will. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu did not just jump into the ring. He knew the problem of Nigeria. He knew what he was going to do when he gets in there. And before he said Emilokon, he knew that when I get in there, I was going to make a change. This is the right time.
Emilokon
this is the right time.
It's not a national statement, right?
This is the right time for this bill to go through. I said something. The North is so blessed. I'm from Kogi State. Kogi State has a lot of mineral resources. We have the Ajaokuta Stick plant. We have other mineral. We have the coal plant, one of the largest coal plants in the country, and if not in Sub-Saharan Africa, that is just lying fallow.
But this is about managing.
Now, if we
managing resources with equity and fairness.
What the president wants to do is now look inward. It's high time we stop.
So you think when it comes to resource management, the tax reform bills, the provisions of the bills allow for equitable redistribution of wealth. Is that what you're saying?
Sure, it is.
It's equitable.
It's simple. I just gave you an example of Lagos State.
I'm not talking about your analysis of what may come in, right? They've always, all fingers are not equal.
See, okay, right? Let me give you an instance from my state in Kogi
There is the derivation fund that goes to certain states because of what they bring in. The 13%, right?
Yes.
And that is how we structured it.
Yes.
So that it could cover, the grounds of, say, for instance, environmental impact, as well as other developmental projects that need to go in there. We also have development commissions, for instance, that are spread across the 6 geopolitical zones now, right?
Not 6 years. North Central doesn't have yet.
It's in the making. That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
So the idea is to be equitable in redistributing wealth, right? Not to say, okay, I do more, so I should get more. But at the end of the day, let the distribution also be fair. Because if you look at the various stratifications when it comes to the redistribution, which is also by population, Lagos State is second to Kano. So there are so many layers where some of these governors are saying, listen, we're not against Lagos getting more or getting enough that it needs. But consider the impact it is going to have on the majority. Doesn't the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few in this particular sense?
Like I was trying to make an illustration before you interjected me. By the time former Governor Yaya Bello came into office in 2015, the internal generated revenue in Kogi State was less than ₦1 billion. With his purposeful leadership, by the time he was leaving in 2023, he has jacked it up to over 3 point something billion internal generated revenue. Now, this is why I said it's high time we start rewarding political office to people who are not ready and who are not prepared when they get in there. It's now time to think out of the box. Go back. There's no state in Nigeria that cannot survive. Then any state that cannot survive, then we should now start looking at merging them together. But I'm putting it to you that there's no state in Nigeria that cannot survive.
Have you seen their books?
All we need to do is block all the loopholes.
Have you seen their books?
See, I just give you an instance of Kogi State where I come from.
It sounds like you're making a value judgment here.
Because I feel every right-thinking Nigeria should let this go through.
Yeah, but it's not a feeling. It's not about emotions. It's about facts and figures.
That is why
right?
I gave you.
I gave you a
practical
yeah,
example
but there are
of my
intellectuals.
state.
There are intellectuals.
If Kogi State, which is not even recognized to be one of the richest states, would be able to regenerate this, then talk about Kano.
But with all due respect, I don't think Yabelo is a shining example of how to run a state, right?
See.
You're not saying Yabelo is the epitome of good governance.
See, Yabelo did excellently well with his time in government.
According
see, not just according to me, the indices are there. See, it's high time we stop pulling ours down just for political gain. Yabelo was awarded by IMF as being one of the most prudent governors.
You're well aware of the months and months of unpaid salaries and allowances. You're also well aware of the lack of implementation of the old minimum wage under Yabelo. You're well aware of these developments, right?
You can't just pick one or two out of.
You're the one who is cherry picking.
I'm giving you an instance now. With the issue of payment of salary, we all know what happened with the issue of payments of salary in Kogi. There was an audit. Even as we speak, there are people who got appointments and we're still on government, we're still civil servants. And government say you have to choose one. It's either you resign your appointment or you resign as being civil servant. So, see,
let's get back on track. Let's get back on track to the idea of collaboration, because he mentioned it purposely in the New Year message, because I suppose he's trying to make a point of it. Because there seems to be a divergence between the center and the subnationals. Even governors on the platform of the APC are kicking against some of his ideas, especially on the tax reform bills, right? So when he says that he wants to work with them on initiatives around agriculture, for instance, around the tax reform bills, energy transition, as well as management and things like that, how do you think he's going to get that done when the presidency is coming after some of these same governors with personal attacks about their method of government at the state level? Do you think he can achieve that?
When this administration came into being, the tripled, after the removal of subsidy, there was a tripled the allocation to states. I never see any governor who came outside and said, no, we don't want this. See, change is not an easy ride. Nobody accepts change. It's difficult, it's painful, but certainly we'll get there. And I'm happy the president also said in his media chat that there's no going back. Yeah, when you talk about, see, this government has done a lot, has given a lot to state governors in this 18 months of being in power. And the governors are supposed to, I always tell Nigerians whenever I have this opportunity that instead of going after the president, begin to ask your state governors what are they doing with the extra allocations that they have gotten from the federation PAC since they came in, since the inception of this administration. My state governor is doing excellently with ease, and we are happy, we are fine, we are good with it. So other governors should sit up and work for collaboration. Certainly they will. Even the president said it in the media chat that there's room for negotiation, maybe a little bend here, bend there, but the tax reform bill has come and it has
What kind of horse trading can you expect from a leader who says there is no going back on something? It means that the president is not open-minded about what the superior arguments could be. I mean, you said it.
No.
He also said it in the media chat.
I gave you one instance. Let me bring it back to our homes now. There are sometimes you make some changes within your family. And even your kids I'm coming. Even your kids and your kids.
I don't think that analogy works.
No, I'm coming.
Because running a government is different from running a family.
No, it starts if you can effectively run your home, then you can run any office. I'm giving you
the complexities of the home is different from the complexities of government.
If you make those changes within the house, even your own children, your biological children, will kick against some. But as a father who is convinced, what do? You stand your ground. And
we're talking about constitutionality here. I'm not sure you have a constitution in your home that is in black and white.
The president, even the Constitution of the Republic of Nigeria, is open to amendments, right? And the president is convinced as a leader. The president did not sit down and just pick his pen and his Bible and wrote that tax bill. No, people were saddled with that responsibility, and they were drawn from all the 6 political zones. It was an executive bill, just to be sure, just to be clear. It wasn't just written. You and I know that there was a committee that was set up to look into it and come up
exactly
with that bill.
a committee set up by the executive.
And that committee had members spread across all the 6 geopolitical zones.
It doesn't change the fact.
Had members in the private sector, had members in government, and every other person who brought in their input to be able to come up with that resolution.
Yeah,
now,
that is not the debate.
Do you also remember that in this country, so many times the National Assembly has amended the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, giving the state legislature autonomy, and they never saw the light of the day.
Yeah, I feel like we're doing a lot of whataboutism here, but if we're going to stick with the main conversation, right, the argument here is let the process be inclusive. Let other arguments or debates prevail, and let's see who has the superior argument here
now,
about what is best for the nation.
If the president has said this is the way to go, right, and those who are kicking against it, you gave an instance that what is there going to be fair or equitable share of resources? So for the fact that Lagos generates 240 billion, and Kano, for instance, generates, let's say, less 10 billion, and Lagos brings part of this to augment for Kano. So Kano should not stand on his own any longer. We should deprive Lagos State of. Now, let me even give you a simple element.
You do know that
do you know if I decide to sell a bottle of beer in Kano today, they will come and break it?
Yeah.
But somebody in another state should drink the beer. Why can't we eat from the proceed? No.
Right. So the point. The
president is saying we will no longer tax the seed, but we will tax the fruit.
The point that many proponents of the counter argument are making is, it's not as if Lagos State doesn't make enough, but Lagos State doesn't just survive on what Lagos State generates. Right now, we're talking about trillions of naira that is going into the Lagos Calabar intervention, some 15 trillion naira plus.
In this country, right? Remember, in this country, when some few years ago, a president went to take a loan to do rail from Castina to where? To Niger Republic. How does that better the loss of Nigerians?
So the argument
when were those governors in the north?
The argument is this.
Where were those governors in the north?
Have you seen the rail line? Have you seen the rail line?
But was the loan taken or not?
Yeah, but have you seen the rail line?
So then that's when we talk about accountability.
So the issue is this.
When the former president, who was a northerner, went as far as taking loan from external bodies to fund a rail that was connecting another country. Now you're not talking about
benefit to
the region. What is the economic benefit of Niger Republic to Nigeria?
Are you aware of the commercial traffic between Nigeria and Niger?
The commercial traffic between Nigeria and Niger that will go. Okay, now you talked about advising the rail. That fund has been taken from more than 3-4 years ago, and you are, from what you just said, that means there's no project to show for it. So where did the fund goes to?
But the point is this, and I feel like you're digressing a lot about what is actually happening right now.
No,
the conversation is this. The conversation is this. I agree
with you. The conversation is you're trying to say
Lagos is not just going to be built.
You're trying to say the president is being autocratic, that when he comes up with a bill, he doesn't give room for every other person to contribute.
I'm not saying that bill, but I won't disagree with you if that's what your position is. However, the point I was making is, there's a lot that has been said about Lagos. A lot of it is true, a lot of it is misinformation or misrepresentation of the facts, right? The point is this: Lagos as a commercial hub is doing well on its own. One of the biggest economies that we have on the continent, even to say the fact. But there's also a lot of investment that is coming from federal money going into Lagos State to develop Lagos State. Investment in infrastructure of Lagos State that is not necessarily money generated from Lagos State. So if you're going to do that, it doesn't make sense to then say the argument that because Lagos is making more, it should deserve a lot more in terms of the share, because there is also a lot of other monies that is coming from the Delta, that is coming from the North, that is also going in to feed in fixing Lagos roads and other things in Lagos. So it makes sense that we share the burden.
I don't think the federal government, the Lagos State government alone has done a lot on their own. Both the red rail line, the blue rail lines were all projects of Lagos State government, not from the federal government.
You're talking about metro.
Now that's metro rail lines, right? Now, I'm happy you came up that it is not metro rail lines we're talking about here, right? The rail lines,
the Lagos Calabar Express Highway.
Beautiful. So which it's going to be, it's not just only going to benefit Lagos State alone. There are lots of states on that coastal line that are going to have a lot of economic upliftment when that road comes into be. So you don't have to now say it's just about Lagos alone.
Yeah, but where's the money coming from?
Those are they are federal roads.
Yeah, but where's the money coming from?
No, you are talking. This is federal roads. So what do you expect the private government to do?
Where is the money coming from?
No, not where is the money. Federal roads are supposed to be financed by where? By the federal government. So why do you want to make it all about Lagos?
No, you are making it about Lagos.
No. From yours now, I'm saying it's time all governors go back to the drawing board and think out of the box to make more money for their state. So that means when Kano State eventually begins to make 1 trillion every month from internal generated revenue, it will be spent in Kano State to better the lots of the people of Kano.
Okay,
see, these policies it's not just a short term. It has a long-term plan, benefit to any of the states in the federation. So it's time. Watch what is going to happen in 2027. You will see that in 2027, government offices, political offices will not be too attractive for people who don't have anything to offer. You now have to sit down. You have to have your think tank, prepare. Know that when you go in there, it's not just going to be a feast any longer. You now have to work.
Okay.
And you now have to spend what you generate.
Let's take a look at this graphic. One of the standout statements from the president's New Year message is the fact that Nigeria is well on its way to becoming a $1 trillion economy. And these are the projections, by the way, from the 2025 budget. Inflation at over 34%. They are now saying the chances of that coming down is quite significant to just 15%, even though the experts have disagreed with the position of the administration on that one. But the standout phrase in that, the $1 trillion economy, there are only 20 countries in the world that have that valuation, that belong to that class. None of them is in Africa, by the way, and Nigeria is not even the best economy on the continent. There are a lot of people who accuse the president of, political rhetoric, just like the PDP, for instance, said in its response to the New Year message about this just being political rhetorics, empty promises, and so on and so forth. Do you think the president is, getting carried away with his ambition to fix the problem, so much so that they're not rooted in facts?
The president is not being carried away. The president is only telling you it can be done.
It can be done. He can do it.
Yes. And that's one thing we should celebrate him for. It can be done.
Wishful thinking?
Now, see, it's not wishful thinking. I just told you in the course of this conversation that the former president, who was president for 8 years between 1999 and 2007, said our refineries cannot work. Are those refineries working?
I'm sure you're not contextualizing it the way he said it.
Wait, I'm coming. Are those refineries not working today?
What
he said was that there was a lot of cabals who will not let it work. But this administration has, I said, one thing you should give to this president, that he has the political will. There's one thing for you to have a good plan.
You do know that on a head-to-head, President Tinubu and President Obasanjo head-to-head, President Obasanjo has a better economy, better living conditions than the current administration. You do know that.
That was when? That was in 2000.
I mean, you keep bringing it back. So things were better under Obasanjo.
Under Obasanjo.
Yeah, things were better.
If Obasanjo had...
No. Things were better. Let's not do hypotheses.
This is not... I'm coming.
Yeah.
You don't put words in my mouth. The indices are different today. Obasanjo was there for
The indices are worse.
Obasanjo was there for 8 years. If Obasanjo had put in the right economic policies in place, because I said something here that government is continuum. If he had put the right economic policies in place as of then, we wouldn't even have gone this bad today. I told you when Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, remember Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, who was also a minister under Obasanjo's administration, also said it at the tail end of Jonathan's administration in 2014, that anybody who's going to come in 2015 as president, if he doesn't have a proper economic policy, Nigeria is going to nosedive. Did we nosedive or not? Now this government has come and said, "I've not seen." One thing you should give to President Bola Ahmed Tinubu.
Do you also know?
He's not even playing.
Do you also know?
Okay.
Do you also know that the worst case scenario under the Buhari administration that had to deal with the pandemic and global recession also.
Okay.
The economic indices are far better than what we have right now.
The same government that was paying $1.5 billion to subsidize dollar.
How much were you paying for petrol 2 years ago?
How much was I paying for petrol 2 years ago? I was paying about 100 and something for petrol 2 years ago. And the question is this.
Right.
Well, how much was the subsidy we were paying for petrol?
But how much were you paying?
But I'm just telling you.
Right.
How much was the subsidy?
If Nigerians have to choose today between paying 200 naira per litre and 900,
and so we should keep living.
Which one do you think?
So we should keep living a fake life, putting debt for our next generation. They said a good father drops inheritance for his children, not debt for his children. Now this government has come and said no. We cannot continue living on fake economic policies. We can see what the PDP administration was doing was what we call the cosmetic economy, whereby a woman will go to the for makeup.
That was the Buhari administration, by the way, not the PDP administration.
Both. This issue did not start with the APC. Right. That's one thing we should tell Nigerians the truth. The issue with Nigerian economy did not start with the APC.
It got worse.
In this country, remember when Jonathan said he was going to save for the rainy day, and governors came up within the PDP, not even governors from opposition party, because then the PDP had more governors, sued the government up to Supreme Court to say no, give us our money, we need to spend it. Will you blame Tinubu for that?
I don't think there's a correlation between that and this one. But let's also talk about one particular thing that stands out from his New Year message, and that is the National Youth Confab. He talked about this earlier, some months ago, back in 2024 in August, against the backdrop of the protest, the End Bad Governance protest. He said they're going to convene a national confab for young Nigerians and so on and so forth. How do you see this playing out? Because they're saying in the first quarter of 2025 they're going to execute this particular plan. As a youth yourself, how do you see this fitting into the polity in terms of fixing structural issues around poverty, unemployment, crime and criminality?
I think one thing he has done is he has recognized the youth demography by saying you have a stake in this government, you have a stake in this administration. We have not listened to you all this while. That's why you have there's been a youth restiveness and the rest. It's now time. Come, let's hear you out. Come up with a policy that we will look into and see how we can integrate it into the national development policy of the country. See, this government believes in every sector of the country, every section of the country, from the old, the young, and all that. And I think we should commend this administration for that. And like you said, in a week or two, or in a month's time, the modalities of selecting those who will be in that confab. This is an opportunity for the youth to say, we've gotten it this time. It's not going to be fight or always on the street. No, it's time to go back and say, okay, this is what should be done. This is what will, if done, will better the lot and the lives of the youth and improve the economy of the country. So I think the president has done well, and it's up for the youth now to take this opportunity, go sit down, discuss within ourselves, come up with a implementable policy, something that is implementable, not wishful.
There's a national youth development program, I believe. We have the Nigeria Youth Council and so on and so forth. Things that already exist that perhaps need to be reworked, repositioned, revitalized, whatever the word is. A lot of people are not particularly comfortable with the president trying to reinvent the wheel. That there are some of these structures that currently exist that need a little, retouching here and there, that you can fix it. Do you think that the president is working with the tools that he has available? Because that seems to be the prevailing argument.
No, the president is working with the tools they have available. But the thing is this, like you just said, it's high time. Most of the time, those who are on the street are not even members of all this association you're talking about. So he's now saying, you all come together, agree with it yourself, what you want, and pass it to me. I think we should also give it to the present youth minister. It's before now we didn't know if we had a minister of youth, but I think now it's certain now that we have a working minister of youth who has since his recent appointment has hit the ground running. What the president wants to do is galvanize all this, all the National Youth Council, the NAS, the everything that has to do with the youth. That's why I said in a few days there's going to be the modalities to pick delegates for that council, for the confab will be all out for all to see. So the president is it's as good of saying when we get there, sir, we already have this in existence. What we want is empower this more. We already have this. You are doing better this way. If you do it this way, it will be better. So it's a welcome development, and it's going to be a win-win for all.
Is a national conference what Nigerian youths need at this moment? There are unemployed, skilled and unskilled Nigerian youths out there, unemployed graduates, young, workers who are leaving the country in search of greener pasture elsewhere. You're well aware of the Japa syndrome, for instance. Nigeria is losing considerably some of its finest minds because of the horrible working conditions that they're living with, or because of the limited opportunities. Nigerian youths need jobs. Nigerian youths need security. Nigerian youths need investment in the proper way so that it can motivate them to make ends meet. Do you think a national conference is going to bring that into reality?
Now, that's why we need the national conference, because we're going to tell them what we need them to do, what needs to be done. It's giving us the sense of belonging that we are part of the Nigerian project. So the national conference, confab, is a welcome development. Like I said, we need it because we need to have this conversation about all you just lined out. So it's a welcome development. It's what we need at this minute, because most of the time Nigerians don't even know what the government is doing to better their laws. So with this, we'll know what government is doing on their own part, and we'll also tell them what we want them to do for us from our own end, and we'll come to an agreement. And we pray that when the resolutions are out, it will be implemented and it will not be swept under the carpet like the 2014 confab.
Right. Let's talk about one element of the message that talks about gratitude, right? The president did express his gratitude to Nigerian citizens for all the sacrifices that we have been making over the past 19 months. But the interesting thing is, critics are quick to pose the question, what did the president sacrifice? He got a new car, got a new private jet, and a fat budget for the presidency year on year. So it's safe to say that while Nigerians are making the sacrifice, the president, as a person himself, has not sacrificed anything.
Critics will be fast to kick against everything that has to do. I think one thing this president...
Is it not a fact that he got a new car?
I said something in 2015 when President Muhammad Buhari came and said him and Kaduna State Governor said they were going to reduce their salaries by half to augment the suffering of the people, and I laughed. What's the ritual of that going to be compared to what Nigeria really needed to develop at that time? Now, as a president, he needed all this to function well.
He needed a new car.
If he needed a new car to function well. See,
right. Let's
be honest with ourselves.
Right.
So will you want our president to fly to risk his life just because he's the president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria? That jet, Nigerians should know that jet does not belong to President Ahmed Tinubu. The jet belongs to Nigeria.
But it services who?
It services for the fact that he's the president.
Right.
I don't think that jet is flying President Muhammad Buhari, or is it flying President Goodluck Jonathan? And that jet will be there. The jet the president met has been there for years before he came. So this also was will be there for previous administrations to use. It's not just about now. See, Nigerians should...
Yeah, but the key word here is not the purchase. Is the use of the word sacrifice. While Nigerians are the ones sacrificing, dealing with food inflation at 40%, dealing with general inflation at 34%, dealing with high cost of transportation, high cost of energy, and all of these things. It appears the spending of the government does not show that the government is making any sacrifice. We're not cutting the cost of government.
See, the government, I remember a few weeks ago, that was a week ago, when the president had the media chat, he said that if anybody thinks he was going to cut down his cabinet, he was not going to do that. And I agree with him. We have over 230 million Nigerians. And you just have, is it 50 ministers? So
they're not up to 50.
They're not beautiful. So that's...
What is beautiful about having 47 ministers?
You need these people to do the job.
Really?
You need them.
So how do you square the circle when the president says that they're going to implement, that his administration is going to implement the Oronsai report, which in effect means that the government is going to
shrink
significantly, by the way. And there were several announcements that were made by Hadiza Bala about all the mergers that will happen and all those agencies and ministry or departments of government that would no longer exist. How many months now? We're nowhere near.
Not that they will no longer exist. They will now fuse into each other. It's just like it's just like you're saying the road safety and the VIO will now become one.
Yeah, so it means that you don't have a road safety.
That means no. It might not be, the name might not be road safety any longer, but you still have the number of staff. They'll still have to carry out the same number of assignments.
It doesn't exist anymore.
Okay.
Right. But yeah. So on one hand, the president is saying, listen, I'm going to cut the size of the government. It's too bloated. The Oronsai report has been there for years. We're going to dust it up, implement it. They made a show of it. So many announcements have been made. Several months pass. Nothing has happened. In fact, he's doubled down to say, listen, he's not cutting down the number of his ministers. So why should Nigerians believe everything he's saying in the New Year message when he doesn't walk the talk?
No. See, when it comes to ministers and the Oronsai report, it's two different things. The Oronsai report did not talk about cutting down ministers. It talked about cutting down agencies of government.
Oh, yeah.
Now, it doesn't mean if you decide to say, okay, we have like I gave the example of the road safety and the VIO now. Now, what it said is that indirectly is that if you have functions of government being carried out by the same function of government being carried out by different agencies, we now merge it to become one, right? So that doesn't, under the Ministry of Health now, for instance, we have a lot of agencies and parastatals. What you do, you now merge those agencies and parastatals, not the minister.
The point is, he doesn't walk the talk.
He does.
How many months since the announcement was made?
Now, you remember, when I go back a bit now, you tell me I do a lot of rhetorics. Remember when the TCA, single treasury account,
the
TSA, came up under Jonathan. Jonathan could not implement it because there were some dots and I's that needed to be done for you to have a proper implementation and takeoff. Now, the president set up a committee to look into that, and I don't think you and I have heard that the committee has reported to the president their resolution from that assignment that was given to them. So I'm sure the president is waiting for it, and when he gets it, they are going to, certainly when the president gets that resolution, it's going to be a white paper on the implementation of that policy. So it's left for us to find out first, as the committee set up by the president to report to the president, have they done that? If they have, then certainly the president would have been working on the white paper.
Do you know when the president made this particular move?
That was, I think that should be in August or so. It
was in February of 2024.
When he set up the committee to look into.
Right.
Certainly, like I said, we are not privy to. But you and I know that the committee has not reported to the president.
10 months later.
See, it's nothing to show for it. It's not as easy as you think it is. Right?
Yeah, but there's nothing to show for it.
If you don't just say there's nothing to show for it.
What is there to show for it?
There's a lot to show for it.
What is there to show for it?
What was the assignment given to the committee? The assignment given to the committee was to go and look into the Oronsai report and come up with recommendations on how government can implement it.
And they made an announcement about the ones that will be subsumed. I'm sure you heard Hadiza Bala.
And you and I also heard when the president had to now, the Niger Delta ministry had to now become.
There you go again with your whataboutism. I'm saying that they have already made pronouncements about the departments that will be subsumed into one another. 8 months, 10 months later, nothing has happened.
You can't say nothing has happened.
Then what has happened?
There's a lot that is happening that you and I may not be aware of.
That there are commissions that no longer exist right now?
Government business is not done on the pages of newspaper.
Yeah, but it's in the public domain.
There's a lot of
There's nothing secret about an agency of government that no longer exists.
But there are a lot. See, you won't just wake up one morning and make the pronouncement and say road safety is gone.
Yeah, but in 10 months, I'm sure if you want them gone, you can make them gone.
There's going to be a lot of amendments going to go on, and at the end of the day, see, this is the new year. Today is the first day of the year.
If the president has, as you said, the political will to remove subsidy on the podium on Inauguration Day, right? Hit the ground running, as he said. Why is it so difficult to cut the cost of governance? See, 10 months later, after making the promise to Nigerians.
If the president has woken up one morning and said, like I said, road safety is gone, VIU is gone. The same Nigerians will go on the street and begin to protest that the president are taking food from the mouths of the Nigerians who are working. So the president
hasn't he done that with subsidy removal already?
No, subsidy. The issue of subsidy removal and merging of agencies are two different things. They are not. You can't compare the implementation of both of them. They are two different things.
Do you know how many businesses have had to shut down because of subsidy removal?
We don't have this money to keep paying. We have to invest this money in something else, right? And now, the issue of merging agencies are two different things. So when you talk about, see, I told you now we are beginning to see the dividends of the removal of subsidy. Refineries are beginning to come off string. It's going to create employment for Nigerians. It's going to create businesses for people. And this is going to better the lot of Nigeria. It's going to give us more direct foreign investment. It's going to give us more foreign. You can see that our dollar is beginning to stabilize because with the coming of Dangote.
Stabilize at what?
Our dollar is beginning to stabilize. See, I want to understand one thing. What do Nigerians really want? Do we want the betterment of this country?
I think
all we want is just to criticize every policy and programs of government? If truly what we want is to better the lots of Nigerians, then when we see a government who believes in Nigeria and is already beginning to take those steps, we should give the government all the support we want.
All right. Honorable Samuel, interesting talking to you. I'm sure there's a lot of room for improvement. You would agree with that particular assessment.
Certainly, and the president also agreed with it that a lot of things, a lot of changes are going to come in. We have looked at some of these policies. We have seen the implementation height has gone, and where we need to check, where we need to move down. We will.
All right. Okay. The political rhetoric's there. But anyway, thank you so much for joining me on the program tonight. I appreciate you for the analysis and for stopping by. Happy New Year to you once again.
Happy New Year, my brother. Pleasure is mine.
That's our show for you today. Thank you so much for your time and company. We'll be back tomorrow, live and exclusive on Trust TV as always. Until next time, my name is Abdullahi Ahmed. For myself and the rest of the team, thank you for watching Daily Politics. Good evening.